Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and today we're going to talk about reviving cordless tool batteries. Now, some of you might say, well, Chris, that's not really prospecting. Well, it is kind of indirectly. A number of you who watch my videos have seen me use this cordless vacuum unit to suck out gold-bearing gravel out of dry crevices when I'm dry washing or otherwise looking for gold. And it's very handy. I like it a lot. It's cordless. It runs on a battery. It's a DeWalt. Now, a lot of different kinds of makers make these things, and DeWalt is by no means the only mean. And I'm not trying to say, hey, DeWalt's the greatest. They do make good tools, but a lot of other people make good tools too, and they make similar kinds of cordless batteries and things, you know, that would go with their cordless tools. But I got to tell you a little bit of a story about, you know, my experience with those batteries. And you know, when I first got, and I have other DeWalt tools, it makes sense that if you're going to buy something, to buy one brand and stick with that because they have all the same batteries. But when I bought the first thing with DeWalt, I got a cordless drill with a hammer feature in it to drill holes in rock. And that was also prospecting related. But, you know, the batteries that came with it were ones like this. These are the official DeWalt, the 18 volt, and this is an older style. They've actually come out with a newer style. Same concept though, about using, you know, a cordless, a battery pack to run a cordless device. But my problem was, you know, when I first got it, it came with two of these, and I thought, great, that'll work. And you know, because I could put one on the charger while the other one I'm using it. And even though they'll use up a lot faster than you can recharge them, still you can kind of keep it balanced and do that kind of stuff. But I found out that after a couple of years, these things just didn't run very well, and it didn't take long, and they wouldn't even take a charge on the charger. I put them on the charger, and the charger would give them nothing. So it's a problem. So I thought, well, I still like my tools, and just because the battery's gone bad, and it's true that no battery lasts forever, no matter what you have. So I bought these. A couple of these. These are lithium ions. The other ones, the old DeWalt original ones, were Nicad batteries. Well, I thought, oh cool, we can get a lighter battery, and indeed you can't tell it from the video, but this battery is a lot lighter than the other one, and yet it has a lot more power packed into it. I thought, oh, even better, you know. And lithium batteries probably last a bit longer than other types. So I thought, hey, great. But it wasn't more than a year or two, and one of my two lithiums that I bought wouldn't take a charge. And so I got frustrated, and pretty soon then another one of the lithiums wouldn't take a charge. And so I bought a third lithium battery, and I began to get frustrated. It's like, this is not cool because these aren't cheap. You know, these lithium ones are like, I think I paid around $40 for it on Amazon per one. So buy two, I think you got them for 70 or 75. It's no bueno if they break down real quick, if they don't last long. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit how to revive some of these batteries. Different options, and you know, but not all batteries can be revived. I'm going to talk about that too. What ones you don't want to revive, what ones you can revive, and how you can get more out of your battery and have them last longer. My problem was I was doing some things wrong, and I had to study it to figure out what the problem was. So hang on with me in this video, and you'll find out how to get the most out of your batteries and have them last the longest, and how to revive them if they seem to have gone bad. Because lithium batteries have an issue that they can catch fire, inside the lithium batteries there's actually a liquid, and the liquid is a flammable liquid, kind of almost like lighter fluid or something, or starter fluid for your barbecue. it's quite flammable. And so once the case breaks open, if you get a short and a spark and you've got a flammable liquid, boom, you get a fire. And then the fire, if there's multiple batteries, the fire in one battery heats up another battery, and then it pops and it shoots out its flammable liquid. And so that's how you get lithium battery fires. It's not really so much the lithium itself that's burning, it's the liquid inside that's it's necessary for the battery. That stuff catches fire. Now, one of the things that I said that I stored my batteries improperly, and that's one of the things. If you store your batteries in real hot places or real cold places, that actually can contribute to losing life in your battery. And if you store them and they drop below a certain voltage just because you've let them sit so long. My batteries, I would store them in my garage, which, it's where I store my tools, right? And I live in the Reno area, and so, in the winter, it gets down to freezing in my garage and a little bit below. And in the summer, it gets darn hot. It may be 120 in my garage in the hot of the day and the hottest days of summer. It's 100 and something outside. It's 20 degrees hotter in the garage. And those periods of hot and cold are hard on the battery. You can actually lose capacity in your battery. If you buy it new and it has a certain amount of capacity, you store it hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold, and pretty soon you got half the capacity. And you keep doing it, pretty soon you have hardly any capacity. The other thing about these batteries is if you store them in a way that they just sit for long periods of time, and that's how mine is. I mean, my little vacuum cleaner there, I use it a few times a year, 5 or 6 times a year, usually during the summer, and then it kind of sits the rest of the time. And I use my cordless drill a few times a year here and there on little house projects and other things, and like I say, drilling rock if I need to. But I let these batteries sit for long periods of time. And the manufacturers, because of the potential for lithium battery fires and fires too, and other things with the Nicads as well, they set the chargers up that if the voltage on the battery is low enough, the charger just won't run. So if you get below a certain threshold, you'll find that you put it on your charger and nothing happens. That's what we're going to be able to fix. Now, I mentioned that not all batteries are fixable. And so if you look at your battery and the case and it's bulging or cracked or something, that's a clear, obvious problem. If you put it on the charger, even if it takes a charge, you hear it start to hiss. Yeah, it's leaking something. Get that off the charger. You don't want to start a fire. So there are cases where it just doesn't work. But this idea of the battery gets too low a voltage and then the charger just won't charge it, that's a fixable thing. You can actually put a little more voltage on the battery and get it to where you can put it on the charger, charges up just fine. But the manufacturers have that feature that it won't charge when it's a super low charge because they're just being careful. And basically the way things are today, some guy puts a battery on there, and if they didn't have that safety system in there and it started a fire and it burned half his house down, the manufacturer would get sued, right? So because everybody's afraid of getting sued, they put on the safety 10 times over and make it super duper safe so that no iffy stuff goes through. So let's talk about how to put some charge on these batteries so that you can recharge them, and they'll work just fine. When you add a little charge, then you can put them on the charger and they'll work. Let me show you. Okay, so let's talk about how to get your batteries so that they'll work on the charger again. Basically, what happens most commonly is you'll get one of these batteries to where their voltage is below the minimum voltage that the charger wants to see. That may be 2.5 volts. It depends on your charger and the manufacturer. You know, I don't know what it is for your particular device with your particular cordless tools, because you can do this with, you know, these are DeWalt, but you can do this with other manufacturers. The same thing, they will set their chargers so that if the voltage drops below a certain amount, it just won't try and charge them at all. And what you're trying to do with that is to transfer, like if you have you can do it multiple ways. One of the ways is to use a good battery that that you have of a known voltage. You know, this is a good one of compared to these, and you can transfer some of the voltage from the good one to the one that has too low a voltage. So there's a couple of things you need to be careful with on this, and that is to match the voltage right. In other words, you don't want to put the positive charge on the negative of the other battery, or vice versa. You want to go positive to positive, negative to negative. And one of the easiest ways you can do that is just to orient the batteries the same. You see, these batteries by DeWalt they're oblong. The port that connects is set back. And so if I orient the two batteries the same way, then the forward clip is going to be the same charge as on the other battery, and the backward clip the same charge as on the other battery. So what I can do is connect, see, I got blue to blue, and so I would connect, and I would have made this red and black, but I didn't have any black wire handy, so I put blue instead of black. So I connect the blue to both fronts and the red to both backs, and as long as you're connecting the same orientation to the same orientation, that will work. The other way you can do, if you want to test it out, is to use a voltmeter. It's handy to have, you're going to do anything with batteries or electrical, handy to have a voltmeter, and then you can just test and see, whoa, which one is the positive one, which one is the negative one. And on your voltmeter, the red is the positive, the black is the negative. And if you put it on, like even if you're testing a battery, like I've got a battery and I put the test on here, if I put the red on the positive and the black on the negative, then I'm going to get a regular number, like 3.5. If you switch them and get them backwards and you put the negative one on the positive and the positive on the negative, you'll get a negative number on your voltmeter. So that's one way that you can determine which charge is which. But you can also just match them. Now when you're using one battery to another, you don't want to put them on for very long. 20 seconds, 30 seconds, don't go much more than that. If you do need to go a little bit more than that, you may want to wait a few minutes. Do 30 seconds, wait 5 minutes, do another 30 seconds, and see. And because if you just connect them straight up and leave it for any length of time, then you'll overheat the batteries. You don't want to do that. It's almost like a short. So limited amounts of time, don't let the batteries overheat. You can use one battery to another, or you can use another source of voltage. If you have, you know, a battery like this, that's this is an 18 volt. This is actually a 20 volt lithium, because there's the lithium cells versus the Nicad cells are different. If I had, say, a voltage thing that would produce 18 or 20 volts, I could just connect that voltage generating device to this as well and do the same thing. But again, limited amounts of time. Don't just let it sit. And you'll be surprised that that little thing, that putting a little bit more charge, will then allow you to pop this on your regular charger, and the charger will charge it up and then stop, just like the battery was good again. So that's how you renew batteries. Now, like I said earlier in the video, there are cases when it won't renew, that you've got something seriously wrong with the battery. And in that case, you know, maybe you'll want to put other batteries inside it and give it new life that way. But that's the basic, easy way of how to put a little bit of charge. You just use one good one versus another, or some source of voltage that you know that you can measure with a voltmeter and use that to charge it. Again, limited time, and usually 30 seconds once, or maybe twice 30 seconds after a few minutes of waiting. Good enough that you'll be able to put it on the charger and you'll be able to use it again. That's how to revive a battery in most cases. So in those situations where you just can't get the batteries, like there's something wrong with the batteries, the inside of these, both the lithium and the Nicad ones, are just a series of batteries that are wired together. I'll show you. Take a look. This is what the inside of this one looks like. So here you can see the inside after I've taken the top off or taken the bottom off. You can see it's just a series of batteries all wired together. They're wired electrically so that they add up and equal the 18 volts that it's in this one. The lithiums, because they have a little higher voltage, are 20 volt, but they still work great. There's videos on YouTube that will show you how to do this and some of the different options, but it's one option to take these apart, remove the batteries, and then rewire it yourself with your own batteries. It's a whole lot cheaper because you can buy the batteries at a reasonable price. It's a whole lot cheaper than buying a whole new pack because these packs are expensive. And because sometimes batteries go bad, you may have a group of 6 or 8 or 10, however many batteries, little batteries grouped together inside something like this to give you the power. If one battery goes bad and is basically kaput, the rest of the batteries aren't going to be able to take a charge, because a lot of times when a battery goes bad, it's like an open circuit. It's like a wire that doesn't connect. And so the only thing you can do with this, you can't actually replace the batteries. You can buy either on the internet or, like through Amazon or through eBay or something like that, various different types of batteries. And you can literally get in there with batteries like this and replace it. And I'll tell you that some of the new lithium ion batteries that are the 3.7 volt, the 18650 is the number or the style of the battery. There's some of those that have like 9 milliamp hours, or I'm sorry, 9 amp hours is 9,000 milliamp hours, and you could put those in there to make the full 18 or 20 volts that these things run on, and it would be a battery that would last, or it'd be a charger that would last a long time. And so it's possible to do even for batteries that won't take a charge by the method, the easy method that I showed you, you can still get them to work. The other thing is that even if whether you get them to take a charge with the easy way, or you replace the batteries, and like I say, there's videos on YouTube that will show you how to take the batteries and change them out and wire them. Generally you're wiring them in series, so that, because like these 18650s, they are 3.7 volt nominal rating, and so you'd get 6 of them to add up to, or 5 or 6 to add up to the 20 volts that you need. But whether you replace the batteries or whether you just be able to use the easy method that I mentioned, preventing problems with them is a good idea. And the ideal storage temperatures for batteries is between about 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's pretty much room temperature. And like I say, I was storing them in my garage where, in the winter time it gets down at night to freezing and a little below, and in the summertime it gets darn hot. And, storing for a few weeks at real high temperatures or real cold temperatures, you lose capacity. The batteries will never take as much charge as they would have if you'd stored them properly. So, store your batteries inside. The tools, it don't matter. You can store the tool in the garage. But I'm from now on going to be storing my batteries inside, which is generally between 60 and 80. It's may rarely get down to 60, but may almost never get up to 80. And that way the batteries will last longer. They'll take a charge better and last longer if you store them properly. The other thing is you want to store them with a charge on them. There's some people that argue if you charge them all the way to the max that you could lose capacity over a long period of time. So if you charge them to the max and let them sit for 2 years, you might lose 10% capacity. So maybe charge them mostly to the max, not quite to the max. One of the things to know about batteries and to know which batteries are good, and technically when you replace batteries in this, if you had the right batteries, you could, and find the ones that are bad, you could just replace the ones that are bad. And for doing that, I recommend a voltmeter. I have several of these voltmeters. They're cheap, you can buy them. They're handy for lots of stuff. And that way you can test the individual batteries to see whether they're good. You can test the voltage when you put the thing together. Test it to make sure, if you change the batteries out on the inside, you can test it to make sure that your voltage is right. You can test one of these packs that the charger won't work on. You can test it to see whether it's got a low voltage, just needs to get a little bit more. You can test and see if it's an open circuit. You know, if the resistance is infinity, it's you got a burned out battery or something, you've got it literally an open circuit with infinite resistance. So voltmeter when you're dealing with batteries is pretty handy, but don't store them empty. You know, you don't run the battery out and then set it aside and let it sit for 6 months, because I was doing stuff like that, and that's a good way to get your battery to lose capacity and lose voltage and lose charge. No battery, however, lasts forever. There's, you know, just a thing that batteries, you know, they're not a permanent thing. And so eventually, even if you store them right, maintain them right, and everything else correctly, they're not going to last forever. But still, you can get a lot of use out of them. The tools are very handy and I've enjoyed doing them. I hope that you've learned a lot from this little video about how to revive cordless tool batteries. Now, most of my videos are about prospecting for gold. And I mentioned my vacuum that I use to suck up gold-bearing dirt out of cracks and crevices in bedrock. And if you want to learn more about how to find gold and stuff, well, watch my videos. But I've also written a book about it, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself Fistful of Gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts, and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults, because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well, then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if, again, you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.